Grosse Ile Township Public Services Commission. Call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to take the liberty to, we're going to have a little tribute here, but first I want to do the roll call, and then we'll do the tribute. The roll call, Bill Kostick here, Phil Kennedy.
Here.
Linda Stanko.
Here.
Ray Biddle.
Here.
Lenny Pedestris.
Present.
David Hayden. Here. Township manager is here, as well as Ryan Welch at our wastewater treatment plant. Thank you very much. We also have two special guests. We had a commissioner, Les Schmidtke, who's been a commissioner for a number of years here, and Les has passed away. And we want to pay a tribute to Les. And two of his children are here, both Lance and Lori Schmidtke. And I'm going to give you a chance to speak in a moment, but thanks for being here. So I want to read the tribute that we want to present to the Les's children. And it goes like this. This is a tribute to Les Schmidtke. The Grosse Ile Township DPS Commission offers a tribute to Les E. Schmidtke, a longtime member of the commission. He served with us over 12 years as a valued member. Les lived his entire life. Now, these are some things that some of you may not know that I didn't know either. Les lived his entire life on Grosse Ile. He was a member of the township's water and sewer department for 41 years, from 1969 to 2010. Les was also a distinguished member of the Grosse Ile Township Fire Department, rising to the position of deputy chief upon his retirement after 39 years of devoted service. In 1992, Les was named Citizen of the Year by the Grosse Ile Rotary Club. Throughout his career, Les always placed high priority on community service. He responded to water main breaks and emergency calls at all hours of the day or night during all weather conditions. He was always present to help residents in need. The DPS Commission wishes to acknowledge how, after his retirement, he assisted this commission with his technical knowledge, operational experience, expertise, and historical perspective. Les was a true citizen dedicated to serving others. Indeed, Les Schmidtke has the utmost respect of all who knew him, and especially his fellow DPS Commission members. With deep respect and appreciation, signed this 12th day of November, 2024. And I have this for you, and maybe you could come up to the podium. And I want to pass, we got a couple of photos here, we'll pass them back and forth, of Les as a young man with his wife, and pictures with him and his children. Thanks for being here, and this is for you. Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. Stay here,
Bill.
I'll
I want to, I don't know if I can.
Well, I know he loved being
Well,
with us, so.
all right. Well, I appreciate it. I know he loved being on this commission, and I'll be here. Make sure he asks for the water loss report and his road sign, and adjourn the meeting. Make sure those sort of things happen in his absence. So, thank you.
Well, Lance, we appreciated you bringing him here. You were a great son to do that. And Laura, you want to say anything?
Well, I'll probably cry the whole time. I already did his eulogy, and I really had to breathe deep to not cry. But thank you very much for letting him serve. I know he loved this community. Like I said, if you could just package my dad's brain and put it on SD drive, everything he knew about this island, no one on this island knows about it.
Well, I know in my experience with him, I used to run projects by him, and I was always amazed that I did the simplest thing that I thought, this is going to really be neat if we could do this. I better call Les. And I'd call him, and then he'd say, Well, you don't know what happened 30 years ago. He'd tell me some stories I didn't want to know about what might have happened or why things were the way they were. He was very interesting, had a wonderful personality, and we're going to miss him.
Thank you very much.
I know John Keim couldn't be here tonight, but John really stepped up during our difficult times.
Well, I didn't realize, I guess I should have, didn't know he was working that long, but John told me he was a real mentor. Your father was a real mentor to John. And we have a great place here, this island, and you know his footprint's all over it.
Thanks
you.
again.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Well, I don't want to put anyone on the spot. Anybody else want to speak? Or at this point, we've said it all, the tribute. I know Lenny served with him and had great respect for him at the fire department. I know Ray knew your dad for many, many years, and we did too, a service with him. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Next, we'll have approval of the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Well, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have approval of the minutes from our September 10th meeting. Trust you've all had a chance to take a look at it. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. And the support was Dave? Dave? Any corrections, additions? All in favor indicate by, for approval, indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? Minutes are approved. And your dad always had something different to say when I just say, if you are willing to, if you approve of this, just say aye, and he'd always say present or something like that. Got a kick out of it. Next, we have approval of vouchers for October 2024. Everybody's had a chance to look at those, I assume. I had a chance to look at them, and I don't have any issues with them, but it's also for September.
September and October.
So it's for both months, because we didn't have a meeting last month. So if there are no objections, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Support. Supported. If there are any questions, please ask. If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition, the report is received. Next, we have a statement of revenues and expenditures and we're really just finishing the 6-month period, so we're halfway through the fiscal year. So as you look at all the water and the sewer and the wastewater and the refuse funds, we should be close to halfway. And Derek, I have a question for, I notice on, well, first of all, I'll ask for a motion. Can I have a motion to approve the statement of revenues and expenditures?
Second.
Linda, you made the motion, and Lenny, you approved? Okay. I'll ask if anybody has any questions. And I don't have a question as much as, if you could go to page 15. Eric, I know that you, that's the sewer operations, line item number 970 is $2,586,000. That's, I believe, the grant that you're expecting to receive.
That's correct, yes.
I wanted to ask you, can you just spend a minute and tell us what we're going to do with the grant? I know we're going to line some sewers.
Yes.
You, off the top of your head, I didn't mean to surprise you with this. Tell us what sewers we're going to be lining.
So I can't tell you specifically what sewers we're going to be lining off the top of my head. The township went through an extensive capital improvement asset management plan, capital improvement schedule that was developed through our asset management plan over the past 4 or 5 years. So the sewers that will be lined and the structures that will be rebuilt, so these are going to be sanitary manhole structures, will be based off that capital improvement schedule that we have developed through that asset management plan. So we'll take about $1.5 million to $2 million worth of that lining that is highest on that list, and that's what we'll be doing with those funds. So that's currently with the engineers to go through and to complete some of the federal mandated requirements as far as SHPO and environmental assessment to make sure that the expenditures of those funds, all of the requirements are satisfied because it's federal money. So that's just what they're waiting on is clearance for that before they can bid out all of that work, that dollar amount that we're looking at.
So I appreciate that, and you don't have the grant money yet.
It's with the federal government, so it's appropriated. It's ready to be spent. We just have to clear those hurdles to make sure that the project complies with those federal requirements. So we don't spend the money and then up having issues with getting it reimbursed because we can't qualify because we haven't completed the compliance end of things.
So each year we spend at least $150,000 with sewer, what we call a sewer TV inspection program, TV inspection and cleaning. And part of that program is to identify problems with our sewer pipes,
Right.
tile, and manholes as well. What's the relationship between that work? Is that working? Now, we have the same engineers looking at that work
Right.
that did the asset management. There's got to be a tie there between the two.
Yeah, so it's similar with our water asset management plan that we're currently working on. The televising and cleaning of the sewers gives you an assessment of the sewer condition. It's called the PACP, I believe is the acronym. Basically what they do is they rate the sewer and its condition. So they look for faults, they look for I&I, they look for cracks, they look for misshapen pipe, they look for illicit taps, they look for damage, and then they rate the section of pipe that they televise after they clean it, and you get, like a rating from 1 to whatever, and the worse the rating, the higher it is on the priority for replacement or repair. They also balance the condition also with the criticality of that asset. So like if that sewer line is a major collector for other smaller sewer lines, it will rate higher than maybe just a sewer line that satisfies one home, because it has a greater consequence of failure. If it fails, it's going to have a greater impact to the network. So they balance it on its condition, its criticality to the system, its consequence of failure, and then they put together that asset management plan that has a capital improvement schedule that prioritizes those mains based upon those condition assessments. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we work as an entity off of that list. So we just don't take that $2 million and just throw it anywhere in the community. We work on the worst first, the most critical first, from top down to bottom with the available funds that we have. And that's where these dollars will go, is to start with that list. Now, we've addressed a lot of the emergency items that came up. Let's say we had a hole in a pipe or something like that when we televised and cleaned the sewer, an immediate issue. Now we're into a situation where, it's just, okay, this pipe is at, 15% of what it should be as far as its condition. We need to work on that first, and we'll work down that list from 1 down to 100% as necessary and as funds are available.
I was looking at, on page 15, I was looking at that, under the sewer operations, that 970 account number. The one above it is 932, which is, I assume that's the sewer repair. It says main repair. I think that's the 150,000 plus the repairs we do. I think that's where that.
Yeah, so main repair 932, that's if we have something that comes up, right?
Yes, as
Yeah.
you just described.
Yep, like an emergency or something.
Well, when we are doing the TV inspections, if we see a problem, we'll just go right in and try to fix it right
Yep.
then and there,
Yep,
and not counting normal leaks and
Correct.
so forth.
correct.
So I wanted to raise the issue because I don't want to lose track of the fact that you're working on this grant, and that at some point, we're going to get this back to us, I hope next year, right? In
Yeah,
2025?
we hope this winter yet. So for whatever reason, I think I've explained at previous meetings, the State Historical Preservation Office, which has oversight over federal requirements for historical review, there's a federal requirement that requires them to give clearance for anything over a certain age, even if it's infrastructure. So they had to get involved with clearing the project before we could move forward with the project so that those dollars wouldn't be held up. I think we got right around $3.5 million in an appropriation. About 800,000 or 900,000 of that's currently being spent at the wastewater treatment plant for the HVAC system. So that's ongoing with those dollars. We cleared all those hurdles for that project. Now we have to do the similar type, clearance for the other project, which is the sanitary sewer rehab work that we're going to be doing.
This could be, we could repair manholes as well with this, right?
Correct, yes. It's manholes in lining of pipes. And the reason we do that is not only for reliability, but also for inflow and infiltration. So if you see on the water loss report, we also show the I&I at the wastewater treatment plant, which were usually around 65–70%. So what that tells you is 65 to 70% of the water that they treat at the plant is not municipal water. It's not potable water. So it's water that's coming into the system from other areas, and a lot of that comes from leaky manholes and leaky pipes. You start drying up the system, you treat less at the plant. It gives you a better chance of compliance, but also it gives you a lower cost of operations. So it's like investing in preventative maintenance. It ends up costing you less in the long run to do that than to deal with the symptom. We want to deal with the cause, right?
One other issue, later when we look at the engineer's report, Sohail's report, he talks about the spin-off from the manhole inspection program, that Allen Park had a contract for it, and we're joining that, right?
I don't know that we'll be able to for the rehab, because I don't know.
Not the rehab, I mean, for the inspection.
Oh, for the inspection, yeah. But
That, I don't know if we've done the field work yet, or just starting it.
Art is doing some of that work, yes, for us.
That will tie together with this line item as well.
Correct, yep.
I just bring it up to the commission, because all these things sort of tie together if we're gonna be looking at this next year. Along with, and I know maybe you'll talk about it later tonight, where we stand with the water reliability study, not
Yes.
the sewer, but the water reliability study.
Yep.
That figure sort of jumped out at me, so I thought it'd be good to discuss it.
Yep.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the report on revenues and expenditures halfway through the year. And what caught my eye, if you look at this again after the meeting tonight, most of our other funds, like the water fund, the refuse fund and everything, they show about a 51% expenditure, which is normal halfway through the year. But in this case, it was only 19% because that $2 million wasn't spent yet, so it jumped out at me, so.
Yeah, and if you look at like the revenue on page 14 under sewer, you see that $2.5 million coming in,
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
and then you have a little over 2.5 million going out.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions or comments on this, I'll entertain, please indicate approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? If not, we've received the report. Next, we have the treasurer's report, and you've all had a copy to look at that. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as submitted. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion or questions? If you look at the second page, I just want to comment, the road improvement fund, I assume the amount due from the general fund, the $1 million, Derek, it's just that it hasn't been transferred yet from last
Correct.
year.
Yep.
And then this December, just the next month, we begin to, again, bring money in to add to this fund.
Correct.
Much of it's already obligated, but just wanted to mention that. If there are any comments or not, I'll indicate, for approval, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The treasurer's report is received. Thank you. Next, is there any public comment about anything? We don't have a big audience tonight. You're welcome to comment on anything, all right? Thanks for being here. Next, I guess we have Ryan. Ryan Welch, give us an update on our wastewater treatment plant operations. You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. The MCAP overage, which is from April 1st, 2023 till March 31st of 2024, is $42,773.22. And again, the MCAP is basically our expenses at the plant, which happen just each and every day at the plant, whether we go to the hardware store or we buy something online or field contractors, you know, electrical services, pumps, motors, SCADA stuff, it's everything. And the way that works is that Veolia pays in the contract for the first 40 grand, and then anything that's over that gets billed back, and there is no markup on that or anything. So I'm asking that this just is approved, and I work with Veolia on this. I have a description list of all the charges, receipts, and invoices, and then I compile that, and then I work with Veolia, the accountants, and they verify it, and that's the number of our overage. So.
All right, well, it's on the agenda for action items. We'll let's deal with that issue right now.
Okay.
And so, you want to introduce it again?
Just that the maintenance cap is something that's built into our contract with Veolia. Basically, rather than them going to us for, you know, every authorization, for every maintenance expense at the plant, we basically settle up at this time of the year. We pay anything over what the cap in the contract is, so we have $40,000 that's built into our contract that's already covered through our monthly payment, and then anything over that $40,000 as per our contract, we cover that and reimburse that back to Veolia. So this time every year, he brings, basically that request forward with an itemized list of expenditures that they've incurred over that period of time, which is April 1 of 23 to March 31st of 24 for this year. And if approved, then Veolia will be reimbursed for that expenditure for that maintenance cap exceedance.
Yep, and we have several pages in your packet, probably a dozen pages of backup material that's broken down by month, beginning in April of 2023, and running till this past through March of 24. So it's pretty interesting reading, and I guess the purpose of this is obvious from reading it. If there's a failure in something and you need a company to come out and fix a pump, or some of our electronic data accumulation materials, our signals, our cameras, and everything else that goes on with our, not only the plant, but all our generators and all of our lift stations, then you can get it fixed right away. And go to the hardware store or to whatever you need to go to purchase equipment, purchase electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, whatever it takes, within a limited amount of money.
Right. The budget that we have for the overage in this calendar or in this fiscal year is 80,000, so we're about half of that. Which I think the past couple of years we've been closer to the 80. It's actually sometimes even been a little bit over that, and so the total maintenance expense is like 100, usually like 120. So we're significantly below where we have been in previous years. And my guess on that is probably because there's so much work going on at the plant right now. There's a lot of stuff that's being replaced and taken care of anyways underneath that.
And I hope that with all the replacement we're doing, and we have been doing, that eventually things are going to work better for you. We've replaced
Exactly.
a lot of equipment, so.
So, but yeah, certain months it's heavier. There's more, we have a lift station problem or, we just, but yeah, hopefully eventually here, it'll be, less money.
Well, I know you could easily spend an hour reading through this, and I assume most of you did. I'm going to make a motion to approve the recommendation that we pay $42,773.22, which is the overage that we anticipate every year in our budget. It's 2,000 of the 42,000, $2,773 is above what we budgeted, but as you say, it's better than we've experienced in years past.
Well, and we actually budget 80,000 as an overage.
Oh, I see.
So, yep, because the 40,000 is considered within their cost.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right. Well, I make the motion to approve the recommendation that we approve this amount of $42,773.22 above the maintenance cap for Viola. Is there support?
Second.
Now, are there any questions from anybody? All in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is passed. So thank you for your hard work on all this.
Yeah,
Now, a couple
no
of
problem.
questions. Is there anything else going on at the plant? Can you bring us up to date? I know they did a lot of paving, and you haven't filled the new clarifier yet, right?
No, we haven't. They did hydro seeding of the lawns, fence is up now. I'd say most of the paving and concrete work is finished. So we just have to fill the new tank. We're waiting on OHM on that, or actually Soren's, Sins and Gross, maybe in a week or two, so that we can fill that tank, make sure it all operates right. Warranties on all the equipment, obviously, we're making sure that we get all that in line. But it's really wrapping up right now. It's just kind of like little items. And then next, we'll have to actually ensure that with these upgrades that our plant can pump our new capacity of 7.1 MGD. So that'll be us working with OHM Engineering on that, and then obviously Eagle, requires that we meet that. So I don't see why that would be a problem.
Okay, so things are moving along. Derek, or both of you, do you have what's our deadline for completion?
I believe it's next November.
A year from now?
Yeah, so we're ahead of
Exactly.
schedule. Yeah, we're ahead of compliance schedule by quite a bit, almost a year. So we'll probably be, when everything's all said and done, 9-10 months ahead of schedule. So
That's good. A couple of, so what else is going on at the plant? Anything we need to know about?
The sludge hauling went out for bid. It'll be due December 19th. So that's for next April is when that will happen.
and we bid it out, hauling twice a year. So first one would be April through May. And the second one, I think we had October or September through
September.
October. Yeah, so-
October,
yeah.
yeah.
So, once we get bids in for that, which I think I had at middle of December, I think, we'll bring those to the commission and we'll review those and decide what vendor we want to go with. So that's in process.
Laurie, I'm reminded, their father always asked, how's the elevator working?
Not,
The answer is it's
Not.
not.
So Ohio has on his report that the HVAC system is about 95% complete.
it is, and actually, we're gonna be starting up the lab and office HVAC next week. And they were actually ahead on that. It worked out real well. So we will have our heat heat and air in the lab.
So if you recall, I think we've been talking about HVAC in the lab and the plant for at least 3 or 4 years.
At least 4 or 5 years.
4 years. So,
At least in Dave's tenure we have. Gotten gray beard over this.
but they normally have a burning barrel over there that they just put their hands over to warm up inside the lab, but they don't
Now
have
it's
to
going to
do
be
that
really
anymore.
good for us.
Yeah. So, but as you had talked about earlier, that HVAC project was about a $850,000, $900,000 project that was funded through that appropriation. So we still have to voucher that down and receive our money in, but it's just waiting at EPA. We have to get things like certified payroll, prevailing wage documentation for the work that was done, Buy American certifications for all the equipment, ensuring that it was bought in the United States. And then we have to submit that all as a package to EPA, and then they reimburse us for that expense for that project. So there might be some expenditures that we've incurred that have thrown the financials a little bit out of whack because that reimbursement hasn't come in yet, but there's a whole process to that, and that's why you have to spend it out and then you got to get it back in. But I think we're all happy to hear that things are moving along well there.
Zach, and that includes also the exhaust fan in the primary room is now working. So that's working. So that's a good thing. That's a part of that. So, yeah, I mean, really, we're just happy there that we're, a lot of these projects are almost over, and that we can kind of get back to just a normal operation there. But I'm happy with it all. It looks
Good.
great.
We talk a lot, every meeting we have something to approve. They're not inexpensive items either, the wastewater plant. Anybody's watching tonight, the plant was built in the 40s, and the township took it over in the 70s. And so we're talking, it's an old building, the facility. It hasn't been ignored, but it's operating 24 hours a day, and things wear out. And we were ordered by the state of Michigan to expand the plant, and that's what the voters approved 2 years ago. Thank you for doing that. And that's what's underway right now. So it's a big deal. It's a big operation, and we are an island, and we're one of the few communities in all of southeast Michigan that has its own wastewater plant. I mean, there's a lot of like Wayne County, Oakland County, they operate wastewater plants for several communities, and we're one of the few that has our own. But we're an island, and that makes sense. So that's all these expenditures go into that. Just a couple of
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chairman. Go ahead.
You were gonna. I was gonna go off the technical stuff for a minute.
I was just gonna mention under the ACO work, raw sewage pump number 4 installation is currently underway. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's installed. We just have to electrically start that up, and that's actually next week too. So actually all of that piping on level 1 is 100% all complete. So that was our main pipe that actually discharges from all of our raw sewage pumps was replaced, and that's huge. So yeah, all that work's all complete. So yep.
It is amazing to see the new clarifier, how huge it is. And I think it's a 60-foot diameter, about
Yep.
30 feet deep. Looks like
Oh.
it's 30 feet deep.
15 maybe in the middle, and then yep.
My mind went.
But it looks really
Right.
nice. Yeah, it's
It does look pretty big compared to the other ones.
yep.
It's impressive to see it, and in case you make arrangements in the next month or two to take your new Board of Trustees members that want to go to see it, it'll be worthwhile. And if you do that, make sure you go to the primary facilities where we replaced all the primary pumps and tanks as well, because that's impressive.
Yeah, we actually have a Girl Scout troop that's interested in coming and touring the plant in February. So I'll have to work with you, Ryan on that and figure out a good date.
Okay.
But so you've got Girl Scouts that are interested in operations over there. It's a great thing, right?
That's
So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned that, so my idea, I want to throw this out. it's way out in the future, but when the plant is finished, and I don't know how we'd accommodate the parking, maybe we wouldn't have a big crowd, but I think we ought to have an open house on a Saturday. And you could take school kids through it, but we need to draw up a diagram of where the flows come in and how they go through the various components of the plant, and have an open house and invite the public to come and go through the plant. Now, there's a lot of safety issues there. We'd have to really organize it. But I will tell you that in my career, I don't want to say when, 50 years ago, I was manager of a small town, and we converted from a trickling filter to an activated
Okay.
sludge plant.
Yep.
We were at the same number of gallons a day. We were at 2 million gallons a day. And we had an open house. And a lot of people came to it, particularly senior citizens. I don't know why, but
I don't either.
they were interested in it. And it was a big thing. I mean, people enjoyed to see what they're spending their money on. So I just throw that out there for the future to think about. One of the things that I've learned is public works people don't do enough to promote public works. We talk about public safety, and that's due. I mean, police and fire, right, Lenny? But public works people, you know, the water we drink is a public safety issue. So are the roads that we drive on, and the sidewalks, and the drains, and so forth. They're all public safety issues. And public works people don't promote themselves at all. And that would be a great thing for us to do. I just tossed it out there, just throw it down the road.
That sounds good. Yeah.
I'd be happy to volunteer, and so would most of the commissioners.
One last one, the lime slurry and level 1 sludge transfer pumps, those were approved by the board. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but you had recommended it to the board for approval. The board did approve those, and they're just waiting on insurance and bonds from the contractor to get moving on those. So,
All right, anything else for Ryan? Derek, do you have anything else?
nothing else.
Thank you, Ryan.
That's all I got.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Then the next item are roads, and before you start, Derek, I want to ask, got a little map here. Derek and I collaborated on this, but I did the coloring. Would you pass this down? And one's for Derek. I go by, the picture is worth 1,000 words. And you know, Derek, I don't know if it'll show up on the screen or not once you get going, but maybe I'll let you go ahead first, and then maybe we can show it. I think the important thing we try to show is we're not focused in one area. We're trying to spread our money out. And on such a small map, it doesn't jump out at you, but you can see the improvements, and they're on the screen now. Can you see those? Yeah, you can see them. And most of the work next year, we talked about this before, we're going to have about $1.1 million, Derek? Was your
Right about
estimate?
that, yep.
I'll let you run in, take over.
I guess first things first, thanks to the chairman and John Keim for taking a number of hours some time ago to drive the roads with me to review all the various areas of concern. We've done a lot in the past year and a half, and we want to continue with improving the roads. And I think the overall consensus of the commission, I think when we talked about it, was to have a program that was both concrete and asphalt work. So with that tour of the island and with the condition assessments that we had, we've come up with a proposal that I think addresses both asphalt and concrete roads in various areas throughout the community, so it's not just centered in one location. And that was the list that was included in your packet. There are addresses there, but please don't, take those addresses as the exact location that work is taking place. It's just the general vicinity, because we have to identify for the engineers when they start establishing quantities and whatnot where approximately the work is. So Bill went and took and put these addresses down on the map that you have in front of you, and you can see that it's spread throughout the community. We had hoped to do like 700,000 in concrete work, and then probably another 400,000 in asphalt work. The asphalt work that would be taking place would be out on Elba, and that would be a mill and a resurface. All the other remaining areas that are indicated in blue on his map would just be concrete sectioning, with the exception of an area that wasn't on your list in the packet, down on South Point and Swan. We want to work on that road there as a mill and a resurface as well, so that would be added to the list. If the commission is in support of this, what would end up happening is, we would go to bid with our engineers for asphalt work and also for concrete this winter, and then hope to award a bid to a contractor or contractors in the spring of '25 to do the work, hopefully shortly after the Free Bridge work completes during that March-April shutdown, to do the work maybe in like April or May, try to get it done earlier in the year. So with that, if there are any questions, I guess I would leave it with, this is a list of areas that we want to do work. The final list is gonna have to be based upon how our quantities come in, because we didn't measure total areas or total square footage or square yards. We only indicated those areas that we would like to do work. If we were able to get to all of these, it'll be based upon how our bids come in, so.
And I meant to call Phil and advise him, but Derek and I did look at where Swan Island Road meets South Point, the edge of pavement on South Point, if you go back the first couple hundred feet, it's pretty deteriorated. And the idea was let's bid that out all the way up to the bridge, or maybe up to the bridge, and might be 300 feet, I don't know, and see what it comes in at. But at least the first half of that section is in bad shape.
Yeah.
So, and again, trying to spread things around. But thank you for putting this list together, Derek, and
Thank you for doing the math. I think that you can look at a list of addresses, but to visualize where exactly it is in the community, the map is helpful to do that, so.
the only other comment on the map is there's one red line. You see it? That's Meridian. And I threw that on there because,
Wayne County's supposed to-
well,
Hopefully.
we hope Derek will be able to talk them into it, to come in with the continued plan. They never promised the plan to pick it up from Island and move all the way at least to near Horse Mill or Highland or something. That pavement's in bad shape.
Yeah,
They were gonna go all the way to Bridge.
and
Oh.
they were supposed to go all the way to Bridge, and as I think I mentioned at previous meetings, they put that on hold when the Free Bridge condition was found to require a reduction in the load limits, and they didn't want to do half loads coming across there. So that I know they still plan on doing it, but it's going to have to wait until the spring now, until that work, takes place.
It's my hope that when you talk to them, and I know you have regular meetings with them, you could ask them to do it in the spring or early summer, not put us at the end of the year like they always do.
Mhm.
Maybe do that first.
And hopefully they will, because they had planned on doing it this fall until that issue came up with the load limit, or the adjustment of the load limit.
So at the last meeting 2 months ago, we had asked everybody if you had any ideas to bring them forth. Haven't heard from anybody. I guess we've covered it pretty well. So I'll make a motion to approve based on the list that was provided in the packet, the list of improvements, as well as what's displayed on the map for next year's program. And we're going to go out and take bids. So Ray Biddle has supported that motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we have a list. We're ready to go.
Mr. Chairman, one comment, if we read the discussion on it, I don't know whether that's gonna go to the township board, where the third sentence of that is, it's not really reading right.
Right.
Say if approved.
If not, I approved, yeah.
Yeah.
I approve if approved, the township would be this work.
Would bid this work, yeah, my
Yeah, bid
apologies
this
for
work. If you
for
could
the
just
poor-
adjust that up, that would
The poor grammar and sentence.
Or spell check strikes again, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I guess, this is just a recommendation to go out for bids. What we're gonna do, does that have to go to the township board?
Not necessarily go to bid, but to award the contract it will.
Right,
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
So I assume this will just, we're giving you advice where to spend the money. So I don't want to eliminate the work of the township board, but, all right. So those were our two action items. Now we have a report on what else is going on. You want to do the DPS project list?
Yeah, and I'll go through kind of quick because Ryan covered at least a large portion of this, which was the work at the plant. And also we had talked about some of this work on other areas of the meeting. Art, who is our new televising and cleaning contractor, has been working on the televising and the cleaning of the sanitary sewer system, and they're about 85% through phase 1. So if you remember, we have 5 phases, so they've been working very diligently and expediently on phase 1. I know in talking with John, he's been very impressed with how efficient they've been. The amount of oversight that he has to provide is very, very limited. They have shown to be very competent and are doing a very good job for us. So we've been very satisfied with the work they've been doing, and we're almost through 85% of phase 1. So that's great progress on their behalf to do that
Oh,
work.
really? Good.
We had talked earlier about the manholes and sewer rehabilitation. That's that $2.5 million in work that we discussed earlier. You see there the SHPO clearance is required. And then once they get everything cleaned up with all of that, they'll put the project out for bid. Ryan talked about the HVAC lab. He talked about the ACO work, which is the basics of design. The asset management plan preparation, that is all set. We've done our work that we were required to do by Eagle, and it was submitted on time. Now, obviously, we're working with that asset management plan to establish our priorities for that $2.5 million worth of work that we're going to do. Talked a little bit about the lime slurry and level 1 sludge transfer pump earlier in the meeting. That was approved by the board, and we're just waiting on insurance and bonds. Water system asset management plan, the reliability study, will cover that, I think, under the next item under my report. So I'll skip that for a quick second. Hydro excavating of the service lines, that was completed in compliance with the state law. The information that we garnered from that was submitted by the deadline to the state, so we're waiting on feedback from the state about the lead service line inventory. I want to say we found right around 44 lead service lines, and I believe just in the past couple of weeks we've already replaced 2 of the ones that were found, and then we'll have a plan put together to, replace the remainder of them well within what the state requires us to. And that hydro excavating of those service lines portion, large portion of that was funded through a grant as well, about $20,000 of the total, I think $40,000 in expense that we incurred. So that's good news there. Paving projects are all wrapped up for the construction season. We talked this evening a little bit about our next round of paving projects, so we'll get moving on the bidding of that and have hopefully some competitive bids for you guys to consider and recommend to the township board after it's bid this winter. So that is it with the project status report. The chairman had asked me to provide to you as a commission an update on the reliability study. So the township is currently undergoing 2 different projects as it relates to our water system engineering projects. One is a reliability study. The reliability study is required for us to do every so often by the state. And really what that does is it looks at flow characteristics of our system to make sure that our system operates and operates as intended, provides fire flow, and provides adequate pressures for our drinking system. They look at hydrant flow characteristics. They look at pipe condition, age, They look at a variety of different things under the reliability study. But in addition to the reliability study, we're also required by the state to have an asset management plan that's very similar to, with a capital improvement schedule that's very similar to the asset management plan and capital improvement schedule that we had to do for the sanitary sewer system. Now, what differs between those two is that the sanitary sewer system, you can go in and televise and clean lines, where the water system, we can't put a camera down the line to review its condition. So we have to do a variety of things to analyze the current condition of the pipes. That might be a little bit different from how we analyze the condition of the sanitary sewer system. But between these two projects, we're able to have a very good idea of the condition of the system and the needs for capital improvements and where those priorities are. So where we currently stand with that, the capital improvement plan, according to those engineers that are working on it, should be done probably in the next month or so. And they hope to have it finalized in early December. The reliability study, which is flow characteristics and how well the system performs, from a reliability standpoint, that should be done by December as well. Those two together will form your asset management plan, which they say should be done by December or mid-January. So within a pretty short order here, we should have all that information, which will allow us to establish priorities for capital improvements. We had talked earlier, I think in previous meetings, about certain bonds coming off, and we would like to bond for the new round of work next year. And that information from those two reports and that asset management plan will give us that list of projects that we will undertake with that new round of funding. What I've provided for you today through our engineers is just a draft map of one component of the asset management plan. And that in front of you is this bigger document, this bigger page. If you recall from my explanation of the sanitary sewer asset management plan, when we look at a capital improvement list, they look at a lot of different components to establish what areas need to be repaired first. One of them is a probability of failure. Another one, like I said, was criticality of the asset. What does it service? And there are a variety of others that will be considered from the water system, like flow characteristics from hydrants and things of that sort. This is one portion of that information that will be used to establish a capital improvement schedule. And that's the probability of failure. We use things also like water main breaks that we experience, age of the pipe, construction material, how old is it, and how does it relate to the longevity of that material in a traditional system. So a lot of things that factor into this, but I think what you're going to see here is the asset management plan is going to come back with a very similar capital improvement recommendation for the first round of funding that looks a lot like this probability of failure map, because probability of failure is a large portion of what you should replace first. So you see the community in its water system is broken down into, green lines being your less probability of failure, your yellow lines being obviously a greater level of probability of failure, and your red being your high probability of failure. You can see the areas of the community that have red. It's more likely going to be, those will be high on our capital improvement schedule. So I guess what I'm telling you, based upon initial information, these are probably the areas that we would look to work on with our next water main project funding. So I know it's a lot, but hopefully that gives you at least an indication of what we're looking at.
I appreciate this. This is important because I'm guessing with the amount of debt we can retire, we might have a $3 million water program to plan next year.
Right.
So, well, I appreciate you providing that explanation. Anybody have any questions about it?
Yeah, I do. What is that legend?
the metrics of that legend indicate?
Off the top of my head, it's water main breaks, age of the pipe.
Like the 1 to 2.5.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure
That's what I'm looking for.
I guess the
What-
order of magnitude, like is 4 so much greater, 100 times greater than 3 or what that might be. Yeah, so I don't have an
Okay.
answer for you on that. I thought you meant what goes into the consideration of probability, right?
No,
Okay.
I understood all that.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand how they got into this metric here
Yeah,
and what
and-
that really.
And so, all the water systems in the state of Michigan are required to put this together. So I'm sure it's probably some sort of engineering standard. I don't think it's an arbitrary, hey, we're just going to pick a scale 1 from 5. I'm sure there's some sort of standard for that. But I don't know the order of magnitude 1 versus 5, how much greater one is than the other. So, what I will tell you is that when this report is complete, we'll have the engineers come in and go through it with you, similar to what they did with the sewer system. So, I can get you an answer for your question now, but obviously they'll be available for, additional questions when they come in and present
All
this.
In the last reliability study, if I remember, it was about 10 years ago, they actually listed water main by, provided a list of them, what would be the first priority, second priority, and so
Yep.
forth. So-
And don't take this as gospel. I mean, this is just an indication, but they're also going to look at things like looping systems. Should we finish this off to ensure some additional flow characteristics, that we want to achieve? So, this is based upon one component of a capital improvement schedule priority list, a priority list of capital work that you would do.
Okay. Phil?
Can I back up a little bit, Derek?
Sure.
On the hydro excavating, you said we had 40 instances of lead pipes being found.
I believe it was 44 or something like that.
How many were tested?
How many were hydro excavated?
Yeah.
I want to say 50 or 52, something like that.
So we hit the ones that we felt were most probable of having.
Correct. So we have something like 4,000 service lines within the community. The state requires you to identify the pipe material through a variety of different methods. Record keeping was probably our number one method. But the state is not satisfied with you just saying your records are accurate. They want you to go and actually show that you physically inspected those that you expected to be lead, and I think that they determine based upon, how close you are on your records as compared with actual to determine whether they want you to go farther and review more. So I think we were in pretty good shape. I think we did 50 and we came up with 44. So our records are showing that we're pretty accurate with what
Okay.
we have in the system.
They weren't just randomly selected. I thought at one point the state could require you to randomly select
They could if they're not
Yeah.
happy with,
if they're not happy.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Water reliability, or water loss report.
Water loss reports, we're at 22.94%, which is less than it was last month. We did find a fairly large leak over in Jewel Colony, which we anticipate to show a little bit of a reduction in our water loss. We had a service line that was going directly into a storm drain. So it wasn't noticeable like a normal water main break would be, where it was pooling on the ground because it was just flowing into the storm sewer system. So that was remedied a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully that helps out. We built in an additional million gallons into the water loss report for that. But I think months in the future here will tell us, what it actually we realize as far as actual water loss is concerned. But this month was a lot better because you're seeing us catching up like we normally do in like the fall. So
Can you tell us how you found that leak?
It actually came from one of the residents. You know, they heard a constant running in the storm sewer out in front of their home. And actually, there was some that was percolating up to the surface on the opposite side of their driveway. But it was running into like open space and down to the canal. So they noticed that as well. But it was mostly because of a resident letting us know what they saw. So the residents should always be encouraged, if you have water pooling or water running, you know, that seems unnatural, especially during dry times of the year, feel free to get a hold of us and we'll do our best to get out there and take a look at it and see whether it's something that's going on or not that shouldn't be.
Great thing to put out there, yep. Okay, and John's not here, and you've given everything for him?
Yep, he didn't have anything to report. He's working on some drainage issues right now, some over on East River Road for road drainage that, we had open space drainage coming out into the road, but he's been very active. They've been doing hydrant winterization, their normal work associated with, you know, water readings and things of that sort. So it's a busy time of the year for them as the seasons change, so. That's all I have for him.
Okay. Next, I guess, would be, there are no further items to discuss tonight, I don't think. Correct?
Correct, just, I think this is the last meeting for our township treasurer, so.
Oh, yes. So Dave, we want to thank you for
Thank you.
putting up with us for the last several years.
I know more about sewer and water and roads.
Never wanted to know.
Whatever I got left, it'll last me that long.
So you're going to leave office, public office.
I am.
New township board takes over the 20th, you said?
Right, next Wednesday.
Ah, and that's in our charter or something, or that date?
That's state.
State law?
State law.
Okay. Good luck to you, thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
thank all of you.
You're welcome to come back anytime. Okay, so I'm going to save my report till last. We'll go around the table. Dave, do you have anything you want to say?
No, sir.
Okay, Linda.
Glad that the bridge thing passed, and congratulations to all the new people on the board.
I think that's good that you mentioned that. I think we're all glad it passed.
Yes.
That means a lot of work for Derek,
Yeah.
but he's up to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he can handle it.
He did a lot of work.
Are you going to address bridges?
Well, sure. Why don't you? Why don't you?
Well, I know we spoke about the person in Wayne County possibly coming to speak to us, and I'm just wondering, has there been any update on or anything happening on the?
As far as we know, he's off on, he's off, I think, on a medical right now, so, and has been since the middle of October, so.
Okay.
He wouldn't be able to make this meeting.
Okay, that's all. I was just curious. Nothing further than.
Well, actually, Derek and I had a brief discussion about it a couple of weeks ago, the lack of response to our letter. Derek's, you have once-a-month meetings with the county, basically, or you have been?
We have, I think, once a week we have project updates, but they're pretty general, not real specific to the, you know, Grosse Ile specifically. They're more or less like a regional update. But there's been a lot of transition at the county, I think. You know, so we're just trying, and then we have some transition here with the new township board. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of conversation, I'm sure, that the community is going to be having with the county, just to make sure everybody's familiar with everybody. So.
Well, I hope in your, you know, you have to maintain a relationship with the county. We don't, I guess, necessarily, but I feel very strongly that somebody should reply. I don't care if it's in January or whatever, but eventually we should hear back from them. And I would hope you'd keep that letter handy and keep bringing it up to them, because we get our next, well, we'll talk about our meeting schedule, but when we meet in February for budget, I surely hope that somebody will respond by that time. Anyway, I'm glad you brought it up. So,
Thank you. Nothing further.
Lenny?
I have two things. One, there's a rumor that David will be the tour guide for the Girl Scouts at the wastewater treatment. So even though he will no longer be in public office,
Came through Township Hall.
he'll still be serving. And the second is a tribute to my dear friend. The fire department interviews the spouse when you hire in. And for every strong leader in the community and giver, it requires a stronger family. So I want to thank you guys for the number of Christmases and dinners he had to get up and walk away. Because that big box with no volume was screaming in your guys' ear. So thank you as a family for letting him do what he did.
Nicely said. Thank you. Yep. So, my comments would be this. We normally don't meet in December. And so we're not going to have a December meeting unless something comes up that we need to. The same was going to apply for January because Derek and staff are going to be consumed with getting this bridge, whatever's got to take to close the bridge and get things moving. So we don't have a plan to meet in January either. Our next meeting will be February 11th. That's our budget meeting. And hopefully by February 11th, Derek, you will, the not new anymore, finance director. I know we didn't make it last year, it was March, but I hope that February 11th is our budget meeting.
Yeah, that should be achievable.
And I would hope that you can bring back some word on the bridges at that same meeting to us. So that's the plan. And of course, January, unless something comes up, that Derek's got to call a meeting. He can do it anytime, really, but we don't have a plan to do that. So that's it that I have. And nothing else to come up to tonight's meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wait, hang on. Motion to adjourn this meeting
Meeting.
from my friend.
I'm glad
Dave beat you to it.
glad you reminded me. A motion to adjourn this meeting.
This meeting.
Second.
Been seconded. Dave made the motion, I guess. Linda seconded it. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Thanks for coming.